Jewish women moments before facing execution in the ghetto. Latvia, 1941. The survival record in open sea after a shipwreck was set by Chinese man Pan Lian. After a German submarine sank the English merchant ship where Pan worked as a steward, he spent 133 days on a wooden raft, surviving by catching fish, collecting rainwater, drinking bird blood, and even killing a shark. American cavalrymen by the giant sequoia, grizzly giant. Strangely enough, no one cut this tree down, and it still exists today. USA, 1900. Mass initiation ceremony into the Ku Klux Klan, 1946. Although the organization was banned in 1871, it exists to this day. The early 1920s saw the peak of sexual liberation and freedom. Numerous unions and organizations began to emerge, promoting a new cultural value: the cult of the nude body. In California in 1929, swimsuits were checked for compliance with decency standards. World Bank President Paul Wolfowitz takes off his shoes before entering a mosque during a visit to Turkey, 2007. Priests saluting Hitler during a Catholic youth rally. Berlin, 1933. German soldiers greet Soviet tanks with flowers. Poland, September 1939. A Croatian soldier saying goodbye to a girl, 1995. It was their last meeting. Sausage charmer. Chicago, Illinois, USA, 1956. Emma Lillian Todd, the first woman to design her own airplane, 1909. The first remote-controlled quadcopter, 1941. In Germany in 1941, an inflatable Aryan doll was created for soldiers. The goal was to stop the spread of syphilis from Parisian prostitutes for the purity and health of the nation. 66 years later, this soldier's granddaughter found this photo and was horrified to discover that her grandfather was a fascist who served in a detachment involved in mass killings. Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet, seated next to Imelda Marcos, wife of Filipino dictator Ferdinand Marcos, at the funeral of Spanish dictator Francisco Franco, 1975. Queen landing at Knebworth Park, where the band would play their last concert during Freddie Mercury's lifetime. England, August 9th, 1986. A tradition of American military sailors. When crossing the equator for the first time, newcomers had to adopt this interesting pose, 1944. In 1985, a functioning, unmarked plane with the remains of 18 people in military uniforms was found in the wilderness. The examination showed they had died a year earlier, and all case files were classified. During the bombing of Yugoslavia, 1999, reporters who uncovered the Watergate scandal watching Nixon's resignation, 1974. 1910, New York. 4 young girls send blessings to people 100 years into the future. A British Army infantry regiment before heading to war in 1914, and after its end in 1918. A captured German soldier in front of the burning Reichstag. Irene Sendler secretly saved 2,500 children during World War II by smuggling them out of a Nazi concentration camp. Archive photo of the psychopath killer Harvey Glattman, who posed as a photographer. Women would come to him for photo sessions, but instead, he would rape them, take a souvenir photograph, and then the women would disappear. 1,958. Alcatraz prison, where the most dangerous American criminals were held, operated until 1963 and was the only federal prison at the time where inmates had access to warm showers. The administration decided that prisoners accustomed to comfort would be less likely to attempt to escape by swimming across the cold San Francisco Bay. Maggie de la Riva identifies the sons of famous and wealthy men who, feeling unpunishable due to their status, kidnapped and raped her 5 days earlier. A photo of the gruesome mask of the maniac Edward Paynell, known as the Beast of Jersey, which he wore before attacking his next victim, 1957. A girl, descendant of slaves, lives on a plantation in a primitive hut with newspapers for wallpaper, Alabama, 1937. Gavrilo Princip is detained right after shooting Archduke Ferdinand, Sarajevo, 1914. During the Inquisition, women who weighed more than 110 pounds were not judged for consorting with the devil. It was believed that 110 pounds was the maximum weight a broom could carry. U.S. Navy medic listens to the ground with a stethoscope to detect Viet Cong tunnels, Vietnam, 1968. The bathing machine, a device popular in the 18th and 19th centuries for swimming at sea beaches, allowing men and women to bathe while preserving the proprieties of the time. Abandoned ships in the desert. The drop in water levels in the Aral Sea is called one of the worst environmental disasters on the planet. British soldiers load a 6-inch naval gun at Shornmead Fort, England, 1940. The next European war will start in Ukraine. A map published in the Look magazine, USA, March 14, 1939. Merle Larcom manually starts the engine of his plane. USA, 1946. A postman finds a house based on the address on the envelope, but the house is no longer there. Real Men Shave, 1940. Mandarin Wan Hu ordered 47 rockets to be tied to his chair to fly to the moon. The chair exploded and the Mandarin disappeared. The servants thought he had flown away. China, 16th century. The final moments of 2 Norwegian workers repairing a wind turbine, killed in a fire. Gangster Sylvan Skolnick is wheeled into the courthouse on a park bench loaded onto a mail cart. Philadelphia, USA, 1966. Family Shelter for Atomic War, USA, 1961. A couple watches the launch of the Apollo 8 spacecraft, 1968. In the US in the 1800s, the side saddle was created so women could ride decently, which was also often recommended for treating hysteria. During Prohibition in the USA, bootleggers stole industrial alcohol, and authorities decided to intentionally poison it. This federal program killed at least 10,000 people by 1933. As long as we have beer and tobacco, we are not afraid of the enemy scum. We will endure. German postcard from World War I, 1916. The gaze of an emaciated American soldier liberated from a German prisoner of war camp. Limburg, Germany, 1945. Hitler's nephew who fought for the USA during World War II. Circus elephant from the Aymar brothers plowing land in occupied France, 1941. Bern University rejected Albert Einstein for a professorship, stating, "Your theory seems interesting, but more like art than science." A patient undergoing treatment for mental illness in Germany, 19th century. One of the last photographs of the mysteriously deceased Dyatlov Group, USSR, 1959. Parade of Hate. 50,000 Ku Klux Klan members in Washington, 1926. Germans with local Russian women in occupied territory, 1943. Poverty in the Victorian era. A crippled, polio-stricken match seller survives in London streets circa 1900. Typhoid Mary. Malin quarantined for life on North Brother Island, New York City, 1915. Mongolian men selling hunting hawks in Beijing, circa 1900. These birds were used for falconry, not food. The world's first photograph, which is also the first photograph taken during wartime, the Crimean War, 1853. Simo Häyhä, a Finnish sniper. One of the most effective snipers in world history. According to various estimates, he shot between 542 and 742 Soviet soldiers. Outside the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, after a demonstration against the U.S. military invasion of Lebanon, 1958. A woman miraculously survived the attack of the Twin Towers on September 11th. A family in the slums of Toronto, 1914. The first case of disqualification of an athlete for doping occurred in 1968. That year, alcohol was found in the blood of pentathlete Hans-Gunnar Liljenvall. The Taliban crush alcohol seized during the capture of Kabul with a tank, Afghanistan, 1996. In ancient Rome, there was an interesting way for the people to fight for their rights: secession. This involved a mass exodus from the city with food supplies. This paralyzed the economy, and the patricians were forced to yield. Shocked Soviet soldiers stand near a large pile of human ashes at the Majdanek concentration camp in 1944. Bundles and bags with personal belongings on the streets of the Krakow ghetto after the remaining inhabitants were sent to Auschwitz, March 1943. They were ordered to leave their things. They would no longer need them. Martin Luther King Jr. is arrested for demanding service at a whites-only restaurant, Florida, USA, 1964. A timeless problem: the fight against excess weight. For example, Portuguese monks in the 12th century fought this issue by making a special opening in their monastery's dining hall so that overweight monks had to fast. Soldiers participate in a staged photograph to illustrate the harmful effects of ignoring a gas mask during a gas attack, France, 1916. Photograph entitled "The Eyes of Hatred" of Joseph Goebbels, when learning that the photographer taking his picture was Jewish, 1933. Seducing a guard, 1970s. A Canadian soldier says goodbye to his daughter before heading to war, World War I, 1914. Members of the New York Fat Man's Club, 1904. Winston Churchill talks on the first portable radio, Fort Jackson, 1942. James Naismith, Canadian-American inventor of basketball, with his wife, 1928. A police photo of an arrested girl for non-traditional sexual orientation, USA, 1940. The Great Depression, USA, 1931. The first public striptease, held on Wall Street, scandalized the public. It would soon catch on across the globe. A historic moment. The first female tractor driver in Uzbekistan, 1923. A cigarette butt collector, Paris, 1905. A Red Cross nurse records the last words of a British soldier, World War I, 1917. The explosion of a boiler in a steam locomotive, one of the many scourges of the 19th century. Despite strict regulations for boiler safety and maintenance, they exploded frequently, making the machinist's job not only hard, but also dangerous. Liverpool versus Juventus, Brussels, European Cup Final, 1985. In the Middle Ages, it was believed that people with genetic abnormalities were born from the sexual act of a woman and Satan, so no one faced any responsibility for killing such a person. Hoofprint boots used during the Prohibition era in the United States. Alcohol vendors wore this type of footwear so they couldn't be tracked by regular shoe prints. Germans celebrating fall of Berlin Wall, Potsdamer Platz, November the 12th, 1989. Paparazzi photograph Bill Clinton's cat, Washington, 1992. The annual funeral of Mr. Gernhardt, 1951. Farmer Jim Gernhardt, 75, in his new coffin during the first rehearsal of his own annual funeral, which he continued to hold every year for the next 3 decades until his death at 103. The first photograph of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant after the disaster, morning of April 26, 1986. The photo is grainy due to radiation damage to the film. Election campaign poster with the slogan, "You are the majority," France, 1969. Determining racial affiliation in Germany, 1940. The felling of massive sequoia trees in the USA, early 20th century. Confederate and Union soldiers shaking hands at a Battle of Gettysburg reunion, 1913. Soldiers fall, income rises. Poster from the USSR, 1968. John the Chimpanzee Croupier, Cosmos Casino, Russia, 1990s. John started as an entertainer and later became a croupier, spinning the roulette wheel with a cognac and a cigarette, entertaining guests. Working in the casino led to illnesses and addictions. In Guam, virgins are forbidden from marrying. Therefore, there is a special profession, a deflorator. This specialist travels the country and, for a fee, performs the service of taking girls' virginity. French resistance members parade women through the streets of Cherbourg for having relations with Germans during the occupation, World War II. Whether this clip sparked joy, anger, or just a bit of annoyance, I want to hear your thoughts below. Stick around for part 2 coming soon. Please hit like and subscribe to support the channel. See you!